Okay, welcome to Jets Rewind. I'm Marty Shupak. I'm joined by Ray Clifford as we're trying our first official, could be second official live stream. Ray is on a phone. We're doing this. We're making it up as we go along. Ray, how you doing?
Doing good. Just enjoying the off season a little bit. Tired of seeing Taylor Swift, so
Okay.
get down to talk about the draft and get back to talking Jets.
Ray, a lot of things are going on. They just started doing the combine in Indianapolis. And today, Joe Douglas spoke. As I mentioned before he went on, it was so much of nothing, just talked in generalities. I like the position we're in. But the other day, they cut Laken Tomlinson, saving $8.1 million in cap space. They have $20.7 million in salary cap room. That does not include the raise of $30 million by the NFL. What was your feeling, Ray, on the Jets cutting Laken Tomlinson, who played in every game?
Well, that was the upside of Laken Tomlinson. That was about the only upside of Laken Tomlinson.
Speak up just a little, Ray, because it's.
I said that was the upside of Laken Tomlinson, but just about the only upside of Laken Tomlinson because he really, grade wise, and when we watched him, he wasn't living up to what we were paying him to do. Wouldn't surprise me if they maybe tried to re-sign him, but I get the feeling they cut him because he wouldn't restructure. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but it frees up, money for them to go after, somebody else or to maybe make a run at signing Bryce Huff. I don't know. But between the league upping the salary cap by quite a bit, they projected like $242 million or something like that.
255.4.
Now it's 255, but it's like almost 15 million over where they projected, which helps us. And then you take that $8 million, you add to it, you take Carlos Lawson off the books, and he's probably not the last one. There'll probably be some other not as significant ones, but it gives us some room to do some stuff.
Ray, you mentioned Bryce Huff. The initial reaction is, okay, great, we're saving money, the salary cap is higher. Try to sign Bryce Huff, which is kind of at first was my initial thoughts. But their offensive line is so bare in the cupboard. And this is such a big year with Aaron Rodgers, 40 years old. I think that they're going to have to put it towards the offensive line. Combination of free agents and draft picks, Ray. And I think they're just going to have to roll the dice with the guys that they have now and hope that Will McDonald could make that huge leap. So how upset are you going to be if they don't sign Bryce Huff, which I think now is like 90-10 against them signing him?
I'm not going to be really that upset. I'm upset that they didn't sign him when they could have had a much more team-friendly deal like a year ago. And they kept just not doing anything with him, and so we're getting they're getting what they deserve. They could have had him under a very economical, if you want to put it that way, cap hit if they'd have signed him a year ago to a 2 or 3 year deal, and they would have had time to figure out if he can be an every down player. And I think that's where the danger is that if they were to go nuts and sign him to something, and any team who does, there's a reason that the Jets were only having him in on pass rush, and they don't believe he's an every down player. And if you're just having him as a pass rusher, he's not going to be worth $15 million a year.
Right, Ray, is one of the positives to come out of it is that you think that they're going to keep John Franklin Myers? Even though he didn't have a great year, I thought it was adequate. But is this, if they let go of Bryce Huff, is it a lock that they keep John Franklin Myers, or could you see them trading him and clearing some more money?
I don't think anything's a lock, but I would say the odds went up that they will keep him, or they can. I mean, I would hope so, because he's already signed. It's just a matter of, do you want to pay him? But, you know, a lot of guys can have an off year and then come back the next year and do really well. And I think a lot of whether or not signing Hupp was a good or bad thing is going to be based on Will McDonald. A lot of people are bashing the Jets. Well, not a lot, but I read a few things that they're saying if they hadn't drafted Will McDonald, they could have had somebody that could have helped them this past year. Well, first of all, you don't know that the injuries that happened were going to happen. Second of all the linemen that were considered, guys who were plug and play linemen were already gone. So I'm not sure who, people think we could have drafted. The mistake was flip-flopping the picks with Green Bay. Those just two spots cost us the guy who's now the right tackle in Pittsburgh, and looked pretty good from all I read about him. So I think they might keep Myers, but I think they're also going to keep their eye on, who's out there and what they can get and what they want to do. Do they want to trade down if some guys are gone? I think they'll take that guy from Oregon State unless he's taken, or unless some deal comes up to trade it that they can't pass up.
There are a lot of free agent offensive linemen, but they usually always are, and a lot of them end up signing back with their original team. I made a note, Ray, 3 players that stood out to me. Tyron Smith from Dallas, though he's 33, and a lot of Jet fans are kind of pushing him. There's a guard in New Orleans, Andrus Peat, and there's another player in Green Bay, Yash Nijman. He's a little bit second tier, but he's young. I like him because he's 28 years old. But Ray, the question I have for you with the offensive line, where do you put AVT, and do you keep him there, or do you move him around depending on injuries? And what about Joe Tippmann? Do you keep him at center, or could you see moving him to guard if they draft a center? Like, I know there's a guy from West Virginia who's pretty good. So what's your take on that?
As far as AVT, I'd like to see him at right guard. Well, now maybe it'll go over to left with Tomlinson gone. I think a lot's going to depend on how Carter Warren does. If he's the guy to if he's the guy that they want to put on the right side. I don't want him at left side. I don't think he's quite at that point, but I think he could do a good job at right tackle. I wouldn't mind moving Tippmann over if they get if they think they have a center. But I like Tippmann at center too. So if they, maybe there's the guard there. But it's all going to come down to, can they get somebody who can handle the left tackle spot? And I don't know who that is right now, but Tucker, I would have liked him, but you can't pencil him in as somebody who's going to be, the last 2 years he's had serious injuries. So
right.
You can't just count on that being the guy who fills in and takes over, which would be great if he does. But until he has a year or two of uninjured play, you can't count on that. So
yeah,
I could see him drafting a center maybe. And you had mentioned guys you like. I just read an article of 2 guys that, and I haven't researched them. One was a guy on the Lions, a guard on the Lions, and another is a guard that's on the Dolphins, and both are going to be free agents that probably can be had at a pretty nice price, and both sounded like they are possibilities, but I didn't have time to go through and look up how they created, although the article said the guy in the Dolphins was
the one guy, Ray, I don't want Aaron Rodgers is best friends with David Bakhtiari, and he's a tackle. This guy I'm telling you, if you look at his injury history, I think he's had like 5 knee operations on one knee. I just can't see spending any valuable money unless it's really like an incentive Latin contract on the number of plays or number of starts he makes. Ray, what's your theory?
Well, that's the whole, and that's the question with a lot of guys. Like you mentioned the guy out of Dallas there, and
Tyron Smith.
Yeah, he's had trouble staying on the field a little bit too, but he's been pretty effective when he's there. So, it's a trade-off with some of these guys, who, especially if they're older. Bakhtari, he might have a year or two left, but I wouldn't pay him a lot of money and hang my hat on.
Right.
Thinking he's gonna, be on the field for 17 games, but.
I had mentioned it to you and Ralph towards the middle end of the year when they were getting all these injuries. I think they have to rethink their roster structure, that instead of carrying 8 or 9 offensive linemen, you're going to have to up it and sacrifice a different part of the roster until we could figure out why we're getting all these injuries. And I don't know if it's the field at MetLife Stadium. I don't know what it is, but I think they have to cover more offensive linemen.
I think there were a couple games where they had 3 tight ends on the roster for a game, and I don't know that I understand that. Other than special teams, I don't think you need 3 tight ends. I don't think even other than special teams, I think is what a lot of it is. You might have to sacrifice one of the receivers, a week or two here or there.
Yep. All right, you listen to Jets Rewind. We're trying to do a live stream, and it's I'm joined by Ray Clifford. Ralph is not with us, and a couple other things before we close it out, Ray. I made a list of some of the players I've been following in the draft, and I count like 10 offensive linemen that are going to be like taken in the first 50 picks. Starting with Joe Alt, Fashanu, Penn State, J.C. Latham, Tallis, Fugel, Oregon State, Amarius Mims, Georgia. Supposedly his ankle is okay. Troy Fatanu, Washington, Tyler Guyton, Oklahoma. Graham Barton, who I really love at Duke, he plays multiple positions, and he might be had early in the second round. Jackson Powers Johnson, Oregon, and Jordan Morgan, Arizona. Ray, they need receivers and offensive linemen. Luckily for the Jets, it's heavy in those 2 positions. Unluckily for the Jets, they don't have a second-round pick. Do you see, or would you endorse the Jets trading back from 10 to, let's say, 12 or 14 if they can recapture that second-round pick, Ray?
I don't want to lose out on an offensive lineman if they think he can step right in and play. So that's my biggest thing with trading back is, what are you giving up to? I know we'll get a second round pick back, but if they fill, if through free agency, if they can fill some needs so that we have somebody in place, because like you say, now that we've cut Tomlinson, I don't think. What do we have? We have Tippmann and Vera Tucker and Carter Warren.
We also have Wes Schweitzer,
we have Max Mitchell. We have guys who.
Max Mitchell is. I'm sorry, he just is not panning out. And I don't want to burst your bubble, Ray,
well, you're not bursting my bubble, but I'm not going to say that because last year, that another year, like next year, maybe he's back to what he was that first year. I wouldn't give up on him yet. I'm not saying he's going to start, but he looked good. He showed he could do it that first year. I don't know how much of an effect either the medicine or the blood clot had on him, but if he can get back to where he was that first year, he'd be a good.
I agree. I started to look at depth because I thought Carter Warren and Mitchell had potential. Believe me, looking at the film, the way I was looking at it, it was pretty ugly the way they were playing. Now, I agree. It's not saying that they can't get better. We'll see. And I want to get into the Jets coaching because there's been a mutiny. A lot of coaches left. But Ray, I happen to think the Jets missed a really golden opportunity. This particular year, there was a trend with college coaches leaving their college positions, going to the NFL at lesser positions. Some of them made lateral moves. Look, Chip Kelly led up as he gave him his head coaching job to go to Ohio State. Jeff Hafley, the head coach at Boston College, went to Green Bay, defensive coordinator. Jim Harbaugh went to the NFL. Ryan Grubb, who's the offensive coordinator of the University of Washington, he went to Seattle. Nick Saban retired. The point is, Ray, the trend I'm seeing is these guys, they want to coach. They don't want to be salesmen 24/7 every day with this NIL. And I really think the Jets, they miss a really golden opportunity kind of recruit some of these coaches or from college. I want to know your thoughts on that before we close this out.
Well, my thoughts are that Robert Saleh is very loyal to guys he brings in. And so I don't think he's really open to many changes. I'm not saying he's not open to any, because I think obviously the pressure, last year led to LaFleur being out, which, I'm kind of torn on whether or not that was a good move from the standpoint that we brought in Hackett, who I realized, the whole reason that Hackett was Rodgers, but once Rodgers was gone, it was kind of the same complaint we had with LaFleur. He isn't able to adjust to anything. So once Rodgers wasn't there to, kind of actually run the offense, where Hackett could call whatever he wanted, and, Aaron would just audible to whatever he thought it needed. He had to actually be an offensive coordinator, and he wasn't really that impressive. So I think part of it, though, is Saleh. He doesn't like to, when his guys he believes are, the best ones for the job, and he doesn't want to get rid of them.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of cases of that. I think that's probably why we held on to Laken Tomlinson so long.
Yep.
We signed him a big deal, and he wasn't worth it.
Well, Ray, Robert Saleh is one of those coaches where I could see being better a second time around as head coach. He's Mr. Positive. We'll see what happens. He looks really good running up and down the bleachers. But look, the next 2 months are going to be, fairly exciting, as they usually are for the off season for the Jets. So we're going to sign off for the live stream for Ray Clifford and Marty Shupak and Jets Rewind. Until next time. Okay, we're off.